All right, here we go. The Aaron Michaels Show, short edition, news and notes, and of course, commentary from Wisconsin sports. We are the alternative Wisconsin sports media. We are not biased. We are not afraid either. Okay, so the Brewers' schedule for next season is released. Brewers will open at home against the Cubs on Thursday, March 26th. March 26th. Getting earlier and earlier. Now, I do wish, what they're doing is they add more off days. I do wish that the season could just get done a little bit sooner. Bump up the World Series by a week or two so it doesn't go quite so far into football season. But whatever. Brewers open the season next year, March 26th, at home against the Cubs. So you're probably going to be paying like Super Bowl prices if you want to go to opening day next year. Speaking of the Brewers, Christian Yelich is expected to be back in the lineup tonight as the Brewers host the Minnesota Twins. Brewers are still 2.5 games behind the Cubs in the NL Central and a half game out of the second wild card spot. And I still contend that Milwaukee is going to have to improve their play, and I think dramatically, if they want to make it to the playoffs. They had a nice little winning streak going that got snapped on Sunday. But even during that streak, they weren't playing that well. A win is a win. It all counts the same on paper. But you have to be able to look at the way that a team is playing and project into the future and how that's going to affect them. And when I watch the Brewers, even on a winning streak, I see a team where offense can go missing for an entire series at a time. I see starting pitching that's banged up. Though the last few games, they've gotten some really solid starts out of Hauser and Lyles. But starting pitching's banged up. I see a team with a bullpen where you really have no idea if they're going to hold the lead for you or not. Your best bullpen man, Josh Hader, has quickly become unreliable. And every time out, it seems like he has to go multiple innings, and then he's got to be shut down for the rest of the series. The defense is full of errors and mental mistakes. Folks, again, this is all during a winning streak. Okay? This happened during... the offense was okay. But all these other issues are all there, even during a winning streak. You got a second baseman who can't make routine throws, and God bless Keston here, the guy can hit. And I'm not saying I want him off the roster. They need his tremendous offense, but the guy is horrible on defense. So while the Brewers can still win some games and go on a little streak, when you look at the issues that they have, I don't know how I can see them making the playoffs. Anything is possible, and them making it into the postseason is going to become a lot more likely if they can clean up all those troubled areas, or even one or two of them. And I got news for you. Having a guy like Chacin come back off the injured list with a 3-10 record and an ERA that's just under 6, that isn't going to fix the problems that they have. Brandon Woodruff coming back is not going to fix the problems that they have. Do they get better when you get a 10-win Woodruff back, or 11 wins, whatever he was at? Of course you do. But it's not going to fix all their problems. And Chacin coming back definitely is not going to fix it. I just don't think that the Brewers are a good team. And I know that hurts many people's feelings to hear that, but it needs to be said. Do they have the potential to be a good team? I think so. There's a lot of talent, especially on the offensive side of the lineup. They can and should be good, but they're not playing like a good team right now. Even with the winning streak. Wins and losses count all the same on paper, but my eyes tell me a different story when I watch them play. It doesn't mean that they can't improve, start playing like they belong in the playoffs. They have the talent to do that. But up to this point in the season, they have not played like a playoff team. No matter what the Wisconsin sports media tries to feed you, this is not a good team right now. All right, the Packers getting ready for preseason game number 2. They are going to Baltimore to take on the Ravens on Thursday night. So the Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur relationship keeps coming up in the national media. Well, the Wisconsin sports media will not latch onto it. They just try to dump water on the stories, try to put out the fire, as they expected. They are just an extension of the Packers PR department, have been for a long time. But yesterday, Chris Carter and, of course, Greg Jennings came out and talked about Aaron Rodgers. Now, this whole thing got started and created by Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk, going after Rodgers for criticizing joint practices and the idea of having them. Florio saying that it was a direct shot at LaFleur because LaFleur is the one who wanted the practices and made it happen. Me personally, I don't think that there are any issues between Rodgers and LaFleur. I really don't. I don't think with Rodgers' history, I don't think that it was exactly smart of him to publicly criticize the joint practices. Being as close as he is to LaFleur, Rodgers has to know that LaFleur likes the practices since he scheduled them, he ran them, and he praised them. So I don't think it was the most savvy move in the world by Rodgers to publicly comment on how much he hates them, but I'll let that go. The other things that came out in the media about Rodgers and LaFleur, I'm not worried about their relationship. I mean, until we actually see some evidence of true issues between the two, it's not something that I'm worried about. But I will comment on this. Chris Carter was making a point yesterday. He said that Rodgers doesn't get along with his parents, his siblings, former players, former coaches, or even Brett Favre at the beginning. And like Carter said, pretty much everyone loves Brett Favre. Here's my comment on that. Whether LaFleur and Rodgers get along or not, whether there are actual problems between the two or not, there is always going to be speculation, and here's why. In a big sense, Rodgers has brought that on himself with the attitude and the way that he is. The attitude that he's had, the history that he's had, and the way that he is. In a large part, he has brought the criticism and especially the speculation. He's brought that on himself by his attitude and his past history. Listen, that's not even a critique of Rodgers. He part of it is this. He rolled his eyes when McCarthy would call plays. He reportedly said that McCarthy was a buffoon and had the lowest IQ of any coach he's ever been around. I'm not going to fault Rodgers for that. Know why? Because he was right on and all that stuff, and I agree 100% wholeheartedly with that. 100%. Mike McCarthy was a jackass. Absolutely. But as for not getting along with everyone, it seems pretty obvious that Rodgers has problems with other people. Again, not a criticism. Whatever, I really don't care who he does or does not get along with. It doesn't matter to me. If it's affecting what's going on in the football field, then it's an issue, but I really don't care. Why should anyone care? But when you are the way that he is, you're going to open yourself up to speculation and to criticism, especially when you say things publicly, like with the joint practice thing. When you have a history of being a certain way, you open yourself up to criticism, whether it's fair or warranted or not. And I'm pretty confident just from seeing Rodgers' attitude so far this year and hearing the both of them talk. I'm pretty confident that LaFleur and Rodgers get along just fine, and they'll continue to get along just fine. Now, if they happen to lose 4 games in a row to start the season, we shall see. But I don't think they're going to go on a losing streak like that, and I think Rodgers and LaFleur will be just fine. If you want to get a hold of the program, you can. Email address, aaronmichaelshow@gmail.com. And as always, follow along on Twitter, @WisconsinAaron. This is your Aaron Michaels Show. Quick news, notes, and commentary.